bookkeeping, I put a lot of thought into that actually. And sometimes accountants and bookkeepers can be kind of aloof and not overly friendly. And Blueberry was just kind of a warm. I love fruit anyway, blueberries. And my tagline is adding sweetness to bookkeeping.
Right.
So I try to make bookkeeping enjoyable for clients when they come to me and present their problems and needs.
What are some of the problems and the needs that you see?
They don't have time to do the bookkeeping in their business, and they try to do it, and it's too overwhelming when they try to actually run their business and then try to do the bookkeeping at night, and things don't get done properly, or it gets left out or neglected altogether.
Yeah. I think that business owners don't like um, seeing the books. I think that just generally, whether it's positive or negative, that it's easier as a business owner to do the things that you feel like are producing revenue from your company and then not pay attention to the bottom line. And that is something that, if I was to give anyone some advice, is that whether it is going well or it's going poorly, you need an outside bookkeeper because that person looks at the health and wellness of your business through a completely different lens than you as someone that has skin in the game and probably has tons of skin in the game, especially if you've been in your business, a decade or more. That is really where I have found the value of referring a good bookkeeper to existing clients of mine. Because our role as credit card processors is to help you keep, a portion of the money that you've already earned through the electronic payments process. But a lot of times it's like, how much does X amount of money really mean to your business? And I'm not qualified to answer that question, but when I can refer a good bookkeeper, it really helps me build a solid foundation for a relationship with that client. So tell me a story, right? Tell me how you built this set of skills and what was that process like of going in and kind of starting your own business?
I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and then when my children were old enough, I needed a job that would allow me to stay home, to be available to my children. And I have always liked numbers, so I got into bookkeeping. I took a course in QuickBooks, and I learned how to do QuickBooks, and then I worked with small companies doing bookkeeping, and I was still able to be with my kids in the afternoon and with their activities and things like that. And I went back and got my accounting degree, realizing that would expand my knowledge and my experience within the bookkeeping world. And I went to work for a CPA for a couple years and was in the process of transitioning locations from North Forsyth to Marietta. And I thought, you know what, this is a perfect time to open my own bookkeeping business. I knew I had the skills and the knowledge, and I wanted to help others. The tax really wasn't my thing, but I took the knowledge that I learned from doing taxes and brought that into my business. So I am now able to do bookkeeping for my clients. I know what CPAs expect. So one of my end goals is to make sure that the books are ready for the CPA.
Sure. And as you're building relationships, right? Like you're day one in business. What does that look like for you? Are you immediately going into that? How do I start to gain clients phase? Like what does it look like day one?
I had a couple of clients who were ready for me day one, so I was able to work with them from day one and get their books organized. And that was helpful to them. Like you said, a lot of people don't want to see the numbers, but when they do see the numbers, they're like, oh, okay, this is real now. Now I can see where I need to cut corners or where I need to increase spending on certain areas. And from day one, I've always had clients.
Okay. What what did you do really well at the beginning that helped you grow? What was kind of your superpower?
Oh my gosh, talking to people, getting to know people, talking about their business, and I think being a listener and actually listening to the client's needs, that was a big help.
Sure. What is the standard in your industry? People are not great listeners.
I don't know because I kind of do my thing, and everybody out there has their own way of doing their business. This is just what I do within my business.
For sure.
Is I like to listen to the clients. I look at the company as a whole to see what the company needs because it's more than just the numbers. There's other people involved? Do they need payroll? Are they writing invoices? Are they paying bills? So you have to look at everything before you can develop a scope of work, as that's what we call it, to present to the client as to what their bookkeeping needs are.
For sure. And so once you uncover these needs, right, you walk your client down that path and you kind of outline the opportunity costs that it's going to take you to trade time and energy into doing your bookkeeping possibly ineffectively versus what you can do. What is that, onboarding or enrollment process like? Like if I'm a business, right, and I'm watching this podcast right now, I'm a business owner, and I say, oh, I've been doing my bookkeeping, or my mother-in-law's been doing my bookkeeping for, X years. I don't really pay attention to it. I don't really know what it means. We do our taxes at the end of the year, and that's one of those things that's just beyond me. Like, what are some of the things that need to run through my head that make me say, oh, maybe I should upgrade? Or I mean, I guess you could do this a couple of ways, right? Like, I'm looking for that incentive to think, oh, maybe I should change bookkeepers. Maybe there's a horror story out there that that says, oh, don't let this happen to you. Or maybe there's a more positive note where you're like, the opportunity is this. If you change your bookkeepers, here's some really, really cool things that can happen in your business. So, like, what is kind of that impulse that you can create with talking to people about their bookkeeping needs?
Well, a horror story would be somebody walking up to you with a box full of invoices and say, do my bookkeeping. Well, it's more than just putting invoices in. Of course, trying to think. When somebody comes to me with an established set of books, I have to go in and I have to look and see what's done in the background. I have to see it. Is it done right? Is it done correctly? What needs improvement? And that's where I start, is to see where can we improve. Sometimes the books are such a mess, it's just easier to start over from scratch. Chart of accounts needs to be correct. A lot of times they're not. Things are put in wrong accounts. So you have to go back and make sure that everything is in there correctly. And when transactions are categorized correctly, that's when the business owner can get a true look of what their numbers are. I have seen loan payments as an expense instead of actually having the loan on the books like it should be, because it gives the balance statement a different look when you have the actual liability on that balance sheet.
So, how do I know as a business owner I'm ready for someone like you?
When you're neglecting to do your bookkeeping, when at the end of the day you don't have what it takes to sit down and look at your books and put in the transactions that you have for that week, or if you're, let's say, in QuickBooks Online, then it automatically downloads your transactions. You just don't have time to categorize those transactions. When you get to that point where you just can't do it anymore, it's probably too late. And that's where we come in as bookkeepers. That's our job, is to help you with your numbers so you can run your business.
Right. What was very difficult for you at the beginning of your business, right? So, like, day one starts, and you're reminiscing, you're thinking back to that day. Like, what's something that you know now, or a skill that you have now, or something that you've worked through that if you could go back and kind of teach yourself or give yourself that skill day one, what would it be?
Trying to show business owners how important it is to have a bookkeeper. A lot of business owners think they don't need one, and they neglect that side of their business. They think, oh, well, I'll get to it later, or I'll just keep it in my Excel sheet. Well, then when they go to the bank and they want to borrow money to grow their business for whatever reason, and the bank says, I need your financial statements, and they can't produce financial statements, or the financial statements are off and the numbers are wrong, and the bank says no. So that's when they call the bookkeeper in, is, can you fix my books?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to go back and investigate and look and see what's...
And the price raises significantly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So cleanup, as we call it, is actually cost more than having a bookkeeper. Because when you have to go in and clean up somebody else's work, that's where you think, oh gosh, I should have had one from the beginning. I like to work with new businesses that have fresh books, because then I can work with that client. We can set up the chart of accounts the way it needs to be set up. So from day one, moving forward, they know that their books are going to be in order.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're going to have a period where you leverage credit in your business, right? You're going to have a period where you're leveraging accounts payable in order to cement a loan or things like that. Like there's going to be times in your business where you stretch yourself in order to accomplish something that is important to you. Without a good bookkeeper, that becomes significantly more difficult, right? Because like straight from the horse's mouth, how financially solid you are. You, not that you may be misinterpreting that intentionally, you maybe really don't understand the financial, solvency of the decisions that you make day in and day out as a business owner, which is not rare, by the way. I don't want people to think that if we are, mildly berating people that do their own books, like there is a time and a place for that, and not everybody in the world has the means to hire a bookkeeper, right? Like there's a period of time where, there's a period of time where your business where you don't need a credit card processor, you know what I mean? Like if you don't have any clients and you're not taking payments yet, there's no movement in your books, you probably don't need a bookkeeper or a payment processor. But there's also a point in everyone's business where if you're working really hard and things are going, semi according to plan for you and you're growing the way that you want, that the bookkeeping becomes mandatory. It becomes a non-negotiable because you have to be able to prove that your business is operating, fiscally responsibly. So you're not a bad business owner if you don't have a bookkeeper now, right? Or if you do your bookkeeping in house, or if your mother-in-law still does your bookkeeping, or if no one does your bookkeeping at all, that doesn't mean you're a bad business owner. Honestly, I would say that there are tons of things that are super important to a business, and the ability to sell your service and the ability to render your service or product, like all of those things are super important. You need to get those things figured out before you really understand the value of a bookkeeper for yourself. But there comes a point where you've got to grow up as a business owner and say, there are some responsibilities that I'm not qualified, or is it important to me to be spending all of my time doing these things? Bookkeeping, without a doubt, is one of those things. And bookkeeping, this is my understanding, right? Time is the number one commodity of the business owner, right? It's the number one thing that we've always heard. It probably takes you half the time to understand a lot of the numbers, versus a normal business owner. You're saving yourself time. At the end of the day, you're saving yourself money versus paying someone to clean up your books once you've made mistakes. And you're giving yourself a real financial leg to stand on in the future by being able to prove what it is and what it isn't within your business. That has been my experience so far is working with some of the bookkeepers that refer us businesses, that the reason you can come to us and have that conversation of I want to save money on my payment processing is because your bookkeeper said, hey, you really do pay a lot for payment processing. You know what I mean? So they're having that non-biased set of eyes that really understands the number side of your business is invaluable. It's super important, and you can't replace it. It's just kind of the nature of things. You're responsible for a lot of things as a business owner, and for the most part, for your typical your stamp business owner, that bookkeeping is not the thing that you should be focusing on. It doesn't generate revenue for you. It takes up a lot of time, and you're probably doing it incorrectly. So,
some business owners do. I always teach my clients how to do the work in case they need to, and to go in and look at the books. I always encourage them to go in and run their reports like they're supposed to, and look at them.
Yeah. You have to. You have to be able to at least look as a business owner, I would think. And I think that teach you to fish mentality is probably another thing that kind of separates you from the rest of your industry. The rest of your industry, I think, wants people to know nothing about their own bookkeeping so that they feel...
They need to know. They need to understand the numbers that they're looking at,
and
they need to know how their money is moving, why it's moving. And another important thing about having correct financials is tax time. You have to know what those numbers are for taxes.
Yeah, it's definitely not a hole that you want to dig yourself, right?
And having current books throughout the year is so much easier when it comes to tax time than you just give your financials over to the CPA. I do work with my client CPAs because CPAs like things different. They like to see things differently on the financial statement, so each one is unique. So I do accommodate CPAs, and it's so much more financially responsible to have a bookkeeper do it than to hand everything over to the CPA
And let
have
them
the
try to
CPA do it.
interpret the different language.
Well, yeah, and do the work
Mhm.
because their pricing is so much more when you have to have your CPA go in and do the bookkeeping.
Yeah, no doubt. And everyone thinks the fear is overpaying on tax or underpaying on taxes, right? It's like everyone fears that they are paying too much on taxes and that they could be more cash friendly throughout the month. And the real fear is that you're underpaying on taxes, or you're representing your profit and loss in a way that you do not meet the actual tax liability of your business. And then you get audited and then you owe,
Oh, I've been through audits.
then you owe tons of money in back taxes or whatever that may be. I've seen it happen. I've been in this industry long enough now where I've seen it happen to my own clients.
Right, and that's another reason why you keep current books. And you should meet or book clients need to meet with their CPAs.
Not
minimum,
once a year. Yeah.
Minimum twice a year. I always recommend they do it about the halfway point, about May or June, to see where they are financially, because some businesses make more money than what they estimate. So the CPA can advise that client on what to do to prepare for upcoming taxes, or they're making less. But the CPA can always financially advise them on what to do for their business. So I recommend they meet halfway, and then again, like in September and the beginning of the third quarter, before we get to the end of the year, so they can do tax planning. So many companies I have seen, oh, well, I made X number of dollars this year. Well, guess what? Now your tax liability is so much more, but because your books weren't accurate and you didn't talk to your CPA, you didn't plan.
Yeah.
So then they have this huge tax liability that they had no idea was coming. And that's where we come in and help.
Yeah, those have got to be the blind sides that you avoid as a business owner. Those have got to be the ones that you stay away from fully. And the only way to do that is to get a bookkeeper that you trust.
Right.
Or a CPA that you're comfortable with paying, for 200 hours of work a year.
Well, CPAs, they have, some of them have bookkeeping services as well, and some don't.
Yeah.
It just depends on.
Some of them are expensive.
They're all expensive.
Yeah,
that's kind of part of the reason why I started my company. I saw what they were charging.
Yeah.
And I said, I can provide the service.
What does a typical client pay you? I guess there's a range, but
there's a range. It just depends on the need.
yeah,
So
I would bet you that the average CPA firm is double for bookkeeping.
Back when I was a CPA, minimum was $125 an hour, and it goes up from there depending on what they need and who's doing the work.
Yeah, and I mean, what is a bookkeeper can do wonderful things for your business with 10 hours a month of work. Truthfully, it's exponentially better than zero.
Well, it is, and we do more than just enter in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We look at patterns. We look at how things are recorded.
It's not you're just reading it; you're understanding it.
We're understanding the numbers behind what we're putting in. It's not just plugging in numbers. We look at the financials. Hey, guess what? You overspent here, or you could spend more here. Or a lot of times we find double charges from companies, or we find fraudulent charges. And because you're in the books all the time, you see patterns, and you know those books. You know those books better than anybody else when you're in them all the time. And that's another way that we help our clients.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, at a high level, being a business owner is not easy. Entrepreneurship is not easy,
No.
and you have to limit the risk of unexpected things. It's like I equate it to like a blowout while you're going down the road, of your tire. Like you've literally have to limit the things that are out of your control, and some things are out of your control. You leave yourself liable to be attacked financially from 1,000 different ways as a business owner. You can't control a lot of that, but the value in having a second set of eyes that does a really, really good job of understanding what is and what is not happening to your business is crucial. Especially if you're growing, and maybe not growing is not the right word, but if you're at that business where you feel like you're making that next step, like that, it's got to be something that you kick around is having an outsourced bookkeeper. I wanted to say thank you very much again for coming. It does mean a lot to me, and I hope that we've given the people some information about the value of bookkeeping within your business. because it is a lot, and what you can expect being in the financial services and providing a service to the business in general. Like, it's a difficult thing to navigate, learning how to sell those services and building up client base. And I'm sure that all of those things are things that you're willing to have conversations with people about should they want to pick your brain. But
Yes.
the last question that I really have for you here is, we talked about it a little bit before, but burning the ship, right? Going all in on your business. It seems like most business owners have this light switch moment where they're like, okay, maybe it's when they quit their job, or maybe it's when they get their logo back from whoever graphic designer is building their logo for them, or maybe it's 1,000 different things, when they get their first client. There's this moment that makes you say, okay, I'm a business owner, and I'm going to throw my all at this, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to see if I can do it well. And that moment is different for everyone, and what it feels like is different for everyone. And my question to you is that people listening to this podcast want to burn the ship. They want to go all in on their business. They want to commit to being an entrepreneur, but they're scared because of the things that they're not good at, or the things that they are good at that they're not prepared. So my question to you, unbiasedly, you can hate it or love it, is what is it like to go all in on your business? What is it like to burn the ship? And what was that experience like for you? And if other people are thinking about it, why should they kind of seek out that same thing?
It's exciting. It's scary because I walked away from a position in a CPA office, and taxes were okay, but they weren't my thing. It just wasn't my love. But I knew I loved bookkeeping, and knowing that I love what I do, that just gave me just more of a push to go out there on my own. And I do go out there. I network and meet people, and it's putting yourself out there on the line and having confidence in your knowledge that you can do this. You can do this business, whatever your business is. I just feel confident that I can do it. I can provide this service for these people. You just have to go out there and get them. That's the thing. It's transferring your knowledge and your confidence into someone else that, yes, I can do this for you. Yes, I can do these books for you. I can give you what you need.
That same language is very similar to my industry, right? And I think that's why I relate to a lot of what it is that you're saying, is because everything that we do is about building trust that you can rely on me financially to handle this part of your business, right? And I guess if there was something that I would leave the viewers with, is that there's going to be a time in your business where you have to wear all the hats. You have to do all the things, whether it's for an hour or a day or a year or a decade. But one of those hats that is the most exciting to relinquish to someone else is the bookkeeping and financial understanding of your own business. When you have someone that you trust to inform you and make good decisions on behalf of your business about what you're doing and what you know about your money, your business becomes significantly easier. So,
yeah, that's a very personal thing, for lack of a better word, intimate, when you let somebody into your money and into that aspect of your business.
No doubt.
It's a very personal, and that trust has to be there.
No doubt.
It just because of the things that we access, bank accounts, credit card statements, things like that. You have to totally trust who is working in your books.
Yeah, and I know you can't wait for people to vet you and understand if you're a good fit for them, because it saves you so much time and energy as well. So make a good choice. Understand the people that you're building a relationship with within your business, and trust the people that you should trust to do the right things, because business is not easy, but it's harder alone. So that's what we're here for. That's kind of the whole essence of Burn the Ship. I guess the last thing that I have for you actually is tell people how to find you in case they want to buy something from you or get in touch with you. Where do we find you?
You can call me. My business line, 770-880-2527.
Nice.
Message, talk to me, call me.
All right. That's it. Burn the Ship.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.